Hello YouTube! Today guys, we're in the orchard and we're going to be going over how to prune an apple tree. Some of the tools you might need, as well as how to go about doing it. For those who don't know me, my name is Mike. I own a small farm and homestead. I'm all about self-reliance and sustainability, so let's get right into this video. We're going to have snips, a folding saw for really big cuts, and then loppers. The snips are going to be up to about a ½ an inch or so. Loppers will be about an inch, and then anything bigger than an inch, inch and a quarter, you're really going to want to use the saw. I have alcohol right here because it's very important to sanitize your snips in between cutting the trees. Just in case one tree has a disease, you don't want to bring that over to the other tree. So let's get right into it. Let's clean these snips and I will show you guys some thinning and heading cuts. So two simple cuts that you guys need to know: heading and thinning. Heading would be the tips of the branch, just like it sounds. Depending where you cut, you can manipulate the node and grow out a new direction for your branches. And thinning would be thinning cuts such as these or this right here, stopping the branching from going up into the canopy. This will make sense when you guys see me do it in just a second. Take some alcohol on a clean paper towel and just basically wipe off your snips. I'll make sure that they stay sanitized before cutting and after cutting each tree. Let's get right into it. So you guys follow me over here. You can see my tree is sort of like a goblet. Apple trees have this central leader, which is really good. At least it's one style that I like to do. The deer will definitely mess with your orchard if you don't have fencing, so fencing is something to consider if you don't want them snapping your central leads. But if you can see right here, I have these branches that are growing up into the canopy, and that's definitely no good. So if you come here, if you look close, you can see this little ring right here on the tree. That's called the collar. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cut outside of the collar so you don't cut into it. That'll cause the tree not to be able to heal properly. I should probably use loppers on this one, but you're going to make your cut right up to the collar and thin it. This branch right here has another horizontal directly above it, which is going to stop light from getting into the canopy. We're also going to thin that. These are all just thinning cuts here, guys. It's going to help the tree get airflow that it needs, as well as stop any mold that could possibly grow. This branch here is growing up into the canopy. I'm going to cut that. So what we're looking for is when we make these cuts, we want to cut them at a 45-degree angle to allow any water to run off. If we have water building up, it could cause mold and bacteria growth. So I'm going to go around here and make a couple of thin cuts. Anything that's growing straight up into the canopy, we're getting rid of. Always sanitize before use. And make sure that your snips are sharp. We're going to go ahead and thin this out right here, as well as some of these other branches that are growing straight up into the canopy. What we're looking to do is create a uniform, almost pyramid structure on this tree once we're done pruning it. And a good rule of thumb is to prune about 30% off. That'll allow the roots that are underneath the ground to put more growth and development into fruit spurs, which are these right here. See this right here? These could be considered water sprouts. Now, they could also grow fruit in the future. So I usually go a couple of nodes up. So cut right above that node there, and that'll stimulate new growth here and hopefully encourage it to fruit. So I'm just going to go around and continue to cut any branches that might be growing crisscross into other branches. The tip of this branch got bit by a deer, and how these nodes work is they'll alternate, one on the top, one on the side, one on the bottom usually. What you could do is you could manipulate which way you want this to grow. So I want this to grow more outwards, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a couple of nodes back and cut, making sure that the node is on the bottom of the branch, which will then tell it to go and send the next branch out in that direction. Always good to step back and see how you're doing. You don't want to take too much. Taking not enough is fine, but taking too much can also encourage more water sprouts to grow, and that's what we're trying to avoid here. As you guys can see, the tree is just starting to get buds. It's the first week of March right now, and it's the best time to prune while the tree is still in dormancy, just so once it starts to grow and the sap is flowing, it'll do repairs really quickly. You guys see, this is almost going to crisscross this branch here. Now, what I'm going to do is an experiment. I'm going to look for a node, and this one is growing away from that branch. So as you can see, that node right there is growing towards me. What we're going to do is we're going to cut just above it, and that should encourage this branch to grow this way now. So have fun with this, guys. It really doesn't have to be an exact science, but always good to prune your fruit trees, and it encourages new growth. Well, before that rude dump truck came by, it's always good to prune your fruit trees. It encourages new growth, as well as keeps your trees nice and healthy. Branches that you do want to prune would be broken branches or anything that looks diseased. Now, if you guys could see right here, you see that collar? That was all growth from last year. That's about 8 inches of growth. What you could do, if you're going to do a heading cut where you pull it back a little bit and you prune right here, what's going to happen is, as long as it's in the new growth from last year's wood, it's going to supercharge this branch, creating a lot of growth. And now, right past this collar, if you go into the second year growth like that, you're going to encourage more fruit set and more fruit spurs on this branch. So there's a few different ways that you could prune and go about this. Depending on what you're looking for and what manipulations you want will depend on how you prune your tree. Happy gardening, everybody, and remember, the best fruit tree is the one you planted 5 years ago.